Hi everyone, I'm Karthick Iyer, and I'm here to talk about the story of IndoSoul. There are three parts to this talk. First, I'd like to talk a little bit about the birth of IndoSoul, and then I'd like to go on and sort of explain, try and unravel some of the key facets of our music. And third, I'd like to play a song from our album, IndoSoul, Looking Within to Look Beyond. To talk about the birth of IndoSoul, I'd like to go back 5-6 years when I was playing with some of the top contemporary Indian bands in India at that time. I was doing pretty well because we had a very hectic touring schedule. Week in and week out there were concerts, and every other month we were touring to a different country playing, which is pretty great for a musician at the age of 25. It seemed like everything was sorted. But however, I always felt like there was something missing, because with the experience and the exposure I had with playing with all these wonderful artists, I sort of started to develop an idea of what an ideal mix of Indian classical music, which I've been learning all my life and which I really love, and Western music could be. And for me, I sort of had a formula which I thought was just perfect, and I yearned to make my own music. So one fine day, I decided to quit my job as a freelance musician and went back to Chennai and decided to start my own band and make my own music. So I got together with some of my friends and from diverse musical backgrounds, some from rock and some from Carnatic and some from pop, and we decided to start a band, and the first concert ended up being a wedding gig at my own sister's wedding reception. The concert started, we prepared, and the concert started and it ended, and it was a great success. I did know that the audience, being my own relatives, would be a little kind, but considering that this was our first concert together and with a fresh set of musicians, it was quite encouraging. And slowly but surely word spread, and we started playing more and more concerts. And what happened was this: as the musicians started getting to know each other better, we started touring together, and we started to understand where we came from, musically also a little bit better. And our compositions that we were making at the practice sessions started to, it started to improve and evolve on its own, and each song was different from the other. What was sure was there was sort of a unique sound that was there to our compositions. And in about a couple of years, 2 to 2.5 years after I started the band, we had a set of songs ready to release the album. On the other end of the spectrum, the responses that we were getting on YouTube, Facebook, and SoundCloud to our music was beyond my wildest dreams. There were people who were talking about how our music had a calming influence on them, about how it helped them get past their struggles in their lives. There were a lot of students who wrote to me talking about how it helped them get through the stress and the rigors of examination. There were even new mothers who wrote talking about how their 2- and 3-year-old would instantly stop crying or would cooperate and have their food when they listen to our music. And this is all true, and this is all there on our YouTube pages. If you look at our YouTube videos, you can see all these comments. So we started to realize, and it was becoming increasingly apparent, that we were having a good effect on our audience, and our music was special. So we had all the ingredients, to go release our album. We had the music, the songs ready, and we had good support from the audience as well. The only thing that we needed was a name to call us. Now there were a lot of names that are being floated around, like fusion music, like world music, but I thought, our music demanded something that was a little bit more specific. We needed something that would sort of talk about the merging of genres that was made possible by the meeting of minds between musicians from diverse musical cultures. And we needed some music that was soulful and had a very good effect on our listeners across the board. So we thought long and hard, and thus the term IndoSoul was born. Before I play, here's a CD cover of our album. We released this last July, and you can see my musicians Vikram, Ram, Naveen, Sumesh, along with myself. We are posing against a wall in Pondicherry where this photo was taken. Before I play you one of our songs, I'd like to sort of unravel this music a little bit and see what the key facets of IndoSoul are that make it tick. And I can think of two facets. One is the merging of genres. One is that the merging of genres is a means to an end and not an end in itself. And the other one is the spirit of collaboration that is very key to IndoSoul. When we are talking about the merging of genres, all of us would agree that any contemporary Indian fusion music, for that matter, always has a merging of genres between Indian music and a Western genre. But with IndoSoul, the key difference is that this merging is a means to an end and not an end in itself. To sort of elaborate this further, I could say that the fulfillment of IndoSoul lies not in showcasing this merging, but rather in trying to be as invisible as possible. And when the merging becomes really subtle, what happens is that the story of the song remains the story of the song, and the song doesn't try and say, oh listen, I've got Carnatic music, I've got rock music, and I've mixed them both and it's really cool. Because I think we are moving to the next step in the evolution of Indian classical contemporary music, where the merging has to sort of become subtle. It has to form the back layer which will create a unique sound, yes, but the story or whatever the composer wants to express, be it a story or be it just a melody or a groove or even an emotion, if he wants to just show to the people that he's happy and he wants to make a song about it, that should be at the forefront. And we can make this happen, in my experience, by trying to explore the commonalities that exist between two different genres, rather than trying to look at the differences and trying to bridge them. And what happens in this case is that the blend between the genres become much more natural and not forced. One more easy way to make this happen leads me to my second point. That's the first point, of course. And the second point is the spirit of collaboration. I'd like to tell you, share with you an interesting experience that I had with my band Emergence. When I was 22, I was invited by the Oroville-based band Emergence to go play for them. And what started then ended up in a long and fruitful partnership that continues to this day. But at that point of time, I was 22 and I had just gotten into contemporary Indian music. So I was faced with 4 musicians from different parts of the world, coming from different musical cultures, and I had no idea. I was excited, but I was also intimidated at the same time. I had no idea what was expected out of me, and I had no idea what I would play. And it about took me a whole year for me to start to feel comfortable with the music, and after a year probably I started to feel like I really owned my part as the Indian element in the mix. And this process of organically developing one's music with time and with getting to know musicians and with getting to know where they come from, and the sort of synergy between the musicians, for me was one of the biggest takeaways that I had from working with Emergence. And I've sort of used this experience to mold IndoSoul to be what it is today. Because for me, IndoSoul is not short-term. It's not something that looks after immediate results. Neither is it safe music. It's a long-term music that results from the meeting of minds of musicians from different cultures. And the more the musicians meet and start to understand and appreciate each other's music and themselves, the richer and deeper the music gets. So now I'd like to go from going beyond the music to the music. I'd like to play a song from our album IndoSoul, Looking Within to Look Beyond. Unfortunately, I couldn't have my musicians here with me. So what I've done is I've taken the audio and the video from our launch performance. So you're going to see my musicians performing on this screen. And with the audio, I've just muted the violin, and I'm going to be playing the violin here live for you. So I'd like to conclude this talk by saying that this album, IndoSoul, Looking Within to Look Beyond, is the first step in IndoSoul, because we are working on a second album right now, and already that's sounding so much different from the first one. I look forward to taking many more steps in this evolution and taking Indian classical music to many uncharted territories. Thank you very much, and I present to you Clarence.